I started this set in a live the other day. I got the first one scrolled live and didn't have time to do the other one, so I'm gonna finish them both up in this video. I decided to just record me cutting this one instead of going live with it. So this is basically a continuation of my live the other day. I was gonna do both of these, but I just didn't have time. So let's do it now. Okay, now the hard part. I did all this and it kept together. We'll see what happens next. Pretty hairy. Okay, so like before, I do my pencil and washer trick. Go around and make my backer. And the inside of the curve of the washer, when you hit a spot like that, it just rounds it out perfectly. And I had to hold these down because these are kind of flimsy. I'm gonna have to be real careful when I peel the stuff off, and even more careful when I sand the fuzzies off the back. Now we've got that done. Take it over to the scroll saw and cut it out. Now I can sand it up. So when I get this base sanded up and I get the other base sanded up, I'll come back and we'll put everything together. I got both backers sanded up and shaped nicely. Sanded them nice. And I used a combination of stains around the outside of this backer, and I used black India ink for the inside. Now I flipped it over and I will carefully apply and spread the glue just in the woody areas. I want to try to be as sparing as I can, but I want good coverage as well. The goal is so that I don't get any squeeze out in where the words are, and so I'm going to spread the glue around and then I will glue it in place. Now that I've got the glue spread, I will flip it and carefully position it so that it's equal on all sides. Once I've got it positioned, then I will apply the clamps. First, I held it in position for a few minutes to make sure that it tacked up nice and wouldn't slide when I put the clamps on. Then I moved it over and clamped it up using my tailstock vise and a few spring clamps up at the top. With that piece glued and in the clamps, I can now take the backer to the heart and I can dye it. I'm going to use Folk Art Ultra red dye. I really like this dye for wood. It comes in a variety of colors, and it's also pretty much a concentrate. So I dilute it about 50-50 with denatured alcohol. You could dilute it with water, but I dilute mine with denatured alcohol. That makes it dry a whole lot quicker. So I'm going to apply one coat, and I'm going to let this dry, and then I will apply a second coat because I don't want it to look quite as pink. I want it to be a little more red. And I'll apply the second coat the same way. While I'm waiting on the first coat of the red to dry on that dye, I'm going to take some General Finishes white mist wood stain, and I'm going to stain the heart itself. It's a very subtle stain. You can tell the difference between when I do this and the other piece that I left natural that was cut from the same wood. But it's looking at it without another piece beside it. It's very, very subtle. It's hard to tell. But I give it a good coat and make sure I get the pores all filled, and it just gives it a nice contrast between the red backer when it's all finished. And I'll leave these pieces to dry overnight and come back in the morning and get them all assembled. But first, it's time to put a second coat of red dye on. It's looking a little pink here, and by the time I get through with the second coat and let it dry, it looks nicely red. And once I put the finish on it, it'll just really pop. I'm not real sure why it looks a little streaky here in the camera, or at least in this edit it does, but it really wasn't streaky at all. It was relatively smooth. I've let it dry overnight, and now I flipped the sign over and I'm applying glue like I did on the first piece. And this time I'm doing it by hand because the pieces are so small that I want to make sure that I get good coverage without getting any bleed out. So I'm just using my finger and putting a light coat everywhere. The only problem is this is regular Titebond, and it's got a relatively short working time, so I have to be fast. Okay, I'm going to shoot this with a couple of coats of polyurethane, water-based. Now let it sit for an hour, and I'll put another coat on, and I'll do that until I'm happy with it. So here's the two plaques that I did. Got semi-gloss finish on each one. I think they came out really nice. I'll get it centered in a minute. This one I'm giving to my neighbor, friend of mine. We help each other out a lot. We help each other out a lot around the house and doing things and whatnot. This one is my Valentine's Day project. I know it's a little late to get it up on my website for Valentine's Day, but I am going to put it on my website as soon as I finish the back. I got to burn my logo in it. I give it one more one more sanding and put some protection on it. So, but it's done. I think it came out really cool. And if you remember, this is the one that I took a regular graphic that I had found online and merged stuff together and showed how to turn it into a scrollable pattern. So there it is. Thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. Please take a minute to check out my sponsors. Links are in the description below. Without them, I couldn't do much of any of this stuff. Oh, check out my main channel, The Messy Studio, for all my wood turning stuff. And as always, check out one of these videos you're bound to like. And remember, live, laugh, love. Y'all come back.